Payday. The money finally hits. You feel it land. You open the app to look, and by the time you look, half of it is already gone. Gone to rent. Gone to the card. Gone to a bill you forgot was coming. You did the hours. You did all of them, and the hours did not do enough. So now there is a choice. There is always this choice. Pick up the extra shift, or have a life. Pick up the shift, and the week disappears. Keep the life, and the number stays too small. You stand there holding the phone. You cannot decide. So you do nothing. The shift goes to someone else. The money stays small. The month ends. Another one starts. $7.25. That is what your hour is worth. Not your day, not your week, your hour. One single hour of your one life. Priced and printed on a stub you are holding in a break room off a county road. The light hums above you. Nobody ever named the key it hums in. There is a clock on the wall, a gray plastic punch clock by the time card rack. It has a slot. You feed it your card. It stamps the minute you came and the minute you leave. It eats your time. It hands the card back. You are barely out of school, and you cannot know yet that there are 6 versions of this paycheck. 6. And only the last one ever sets you free. Level 1. Minimum wage. The clock owns you. Your hours are the only thing you have to sell. The punch clock by the door decides how many you get, so the punch clock decides if you eat that week. Rent on the room you share is $320 a month. The clock decides whether you make it. You learn the math of the bottom. 40 hours at $7.25 is $290 before tax. But nobody at the bottom gets 40 hours. 40 would mean benefits. So the schedule is built to keep you at 32. You learn to check the posted schedule like you would check a wound. A new schedule goes up on a Thursday. You crowd around it with the others. Your name has 4 shifts. Last week you had 5. Nobody explains it. Nobody has to. The manager walks past without looking. You do the math in your head before you reach your car. The math is bad. The math is always bad. You memorize the price of everything. You can name to the cent what a gallon of gas costs, what a dozen eggs costs, the off-brand pasta against the name brand. The difference is 40 cents. 40 cents is real money to you. You have never once not known your balance. At the bottom, time and money are the same thing. You trade one for the other. 1 hour for $7.25. There is no machine between you and the trade. The punch clock is the machine. It eats your hours at the door. It pays them back slow, badly, at a rate carved into it that you did not set. You are not lazy. You work harder here than you ever will again. That is the cruelest fact of the bottom, and nobody at the top will believe you when you say it. At the bottom, you do not own your time. You rent it back from a clock. One stamp at a time. Level 2. The better hourly. You buy back your evenings. You move up. 14 an hour, then 16, running a department at a hardware store. Then a warehouse job. It pays $19.50. A shift differential pushes it to 21 on nights. This feels like wealth. It is not wealth. It is a longer leash, but the leash is longer, and you feel it. 21 an hour, 40 hours guaranteed, is $840 a week. For the first time, the number does not vanish the second it arrives. You move out of the shared room. You get your own 1-bedroom over a laundromat. $650 a month. The floor is always warm from the dryers below. You do not care. The lease has your name on it, nobody else's. You still punch a clock. A digital one now. A screen you press your thumb to. But it is the same machine wearing a newer face. It still eats your hours at the door. You still cannot make money in your sleep. The day you do not show up is the day you do not get paid. You learn this in your body. You learn it the morning you wake with a fever. And you do the math on whether you can afford to be sick. You meet someone here. His name is Dell. He runs the loading dock. 51 years old, 22 years at the same company. He is the best worker in the building, and everybody knows it. Dell took the overtime every time it was offered, for 2 decades. Dell is the most disciplined man you will ever meet on a warehouse floor. Dell makes $58,000 a year, and he will make $58,000 a year until the day he retires. Because the clock he punches has a ceiling welded into it. No amount of being the best lifts it. Dell teaches you how to lift with your legs. He teaches you which forklift battery is dying and how to nurse it through a shift. He remembers your name on your first day. He brings a thermos on cold mornings and shares it with the new kid. The new kid is you. Dell is, in every way a man can be at the bottom, a king. You watch him, and something cold moves through you, because you can see your whole future standing on that dock in a back brace. It is a good man, and it is a trap. Dell did everything right. He showed up. He worked hard. He never complained. He took every hour they offered, and every one of those hours went into the same machine, the digital clock by the door, which paid them back at a rate Dell could not move, no matter how many he fed it. The lesson of Dell is not that Dell was a fool. Dell was no fool. The lesson is harder than that. Hard work, by itself, fed into a clock you do not own, is not a plan. It is just a long, dignified way of staying exactly where you started. At this level, you bought back your evenings. You did not buy back your life. The clock just charges you less to rent it. Level 3. The salary. The golden cage is still a cage. You go to night school. 2 years. You get the associates, then a certificate. Then you land a salaried job. An actual office. $49,000 a year. Paid every 2 weeks. The same amount whether the week was light or heavy. You think you escaped the clock. You did not escape the clock. The clock went invisible. Because here is what nobody tells you about the salary. The punch clock by the door is gone, and in its place is a calendar. And the calendar is worse. The clock at least stopped when your shift ended. The calendar never stops. The calendar is the meetings that fill the day so completely that the real work happens after 6. The calendar is the Sunday dread that arrives at 4 in the afternoon and sits on your chest. The calendar is the slow discovery that a salary is not freedom from hourly work. A salary is a flat rate for unlimited hours. They priced it knowing exactly that. You make more. Barely. Once you account for the commute and the lunches you now buy. And the soul of it is different in a way that surprises you. The warehouse was hard on your back. The office is hard on yourself. The work flattens you. You sit in a chair and become a little less yourself every quarter. You cannot point to the moment it happens, the way you cannot point to the moment a calendar page is crossed off. A vendor mails the office free paper calendars that year. You take one. You pin it by your desk. You start crossing off the days. You tell yourself you are counting down to the weekend. You are. But part of you knows better. You are counting down something larger. You do not look directly at what it is. At this level, you traded the clock for the calendar. And the calendar does not stamp the time you leave. It just keeps turning. Level 4. The corporate salary. This is the golden hamster wheel. You claw your way into a real corporate job, a finance-adjacent operations role at a company with a logo people recognize. The number is $89,000 a year. There is a bonus. There is a title with the word senior in it. This is the level you dreamed about from the break room. On that grocery store stub, this number was unthinkable. It would have looked like the far side of the moon. And here is the thing nobody warns you about. The thing that arrives exactly now. At the top of the wheel you spent 12 years climbing. It changes nothing. You get the raise to $94,000 in your second year, the one you fought for in a review. And you wait for the feeling. You thought there would be a feeling. There is a quiet satisfaction. It lasts about the length of the drive home. By the next morning, the new number is just the number. And the Sunday dread is exactly the same size it was at $49,000. Because the dread was never about the amount. The dread was about who owns the time. The cage is golden. It is still a cage. And you learn precisely how golden and precisely how much a cage on a Tuesday in March. 3 desks down, they lay off a man named Curtis. Curtis is 44. Curtis was good. He had a mortgage, 2 kids, 11 years at the company, and a reorg he did not cause. One he could not see coming. On a Tuesday morning, a woman from a department he had never visited walked him to a conference room. By lunch, his badge did not open the door. You do the math that night, alone. The number lands in you like a stone. $11,000. That is what you have in savings. After 12 years of working, after climbing from 725 to 89,000, $11,000. That is 6 weeks of your life. 6 weeks if the badge stops working. You climbed for 12 years, and you are still, in the only way that counts, 6 weeks from the break room. That is the morning you understand the wheel. The golden wheel does not free you from the clock. The golden wheel is the most expensive clock there is, because it pays you just enough to forget that it is a clock. Right up until the morning, it is not yours anymore. You think of Dell on the dock. You think of Curtis walked to the conference room. They are the same man. One ceiling was welded low. One was painted gold. But a ceiling is a ceiling. And a clock you do not own will always, eventually, be set by someone else's hand. At this level, you are not free. You are well paid. The two words are not the same. Learning the difference between them is the only thing the 89,000 ever taught you. Level 5. The thing you own. You build a clock of your own. The number is still the salary, but something in you broke loose the morning they walked Curtis out, and you start building a thing on the side. It does not matter what the thing is. In your case, it is a small online business, a product you source and sell. Then a second one. Then a little catalog of them. Run from the warm floored apartment at night and on weekends. What matters is the structure. And the structure is this. For the first time in your life, you are building something that earns on its own. It earns when you are not standing in front of it. A sale closes at 3 in the morning while you sleep. The clock you built does not eat your hours at the door. It runs on its own. For the first 18 months, it earns almost nothing. It costs you every evening you have. You keep the corporate job. You are exhausted in a way the warehouse never made you, because warehouse tired ends when the shift ends. This tired follows you to bed, because it is yours. And this is the part nobody can see. Not from the bottom. The part you could not see in the break room. The way out was never a better hourly rate. It was never a bigger salary. Every one of those was just a nicer clock. The way out was building one thing, however small, that earned $1 without you standing over it. Curtis never built one. Dell never built one. The best worker in the building never built one, because the building took all his hours and left him none to build with, which is exactly what the building was designed to do. By a year and a half in, the side thing clears $2,000 a month. By the year after, it clears $9,000 a month, more than the corporate salary. And you do the thing you rehearsed 100 times in your head. You walk into the conference room, the same kind of room they walked Curtis into. And this time, you are the one who leaves. Nobody walks you out. You walk yourself out. The badge stops working because you stopped it. You drive home, and the feeling is nothing like the raise. The raise changed nothing. This changes the shape of the day. There is no calendar to cross off in the morning. There is no clock by any door. There is only the thing you built, running, and the strange new problem of a Tuesday that belongs entirely to you. A Tuesday that does not know what to do with itself. At this level, you stop renting your time back from a clock you did not build. You start, for the first time, to own the machine instead of being it. Level 6, financial freedom. The day your time comes home. The businesses, the index funds your accountant talked you into years ago, they have crossed the line where the math finally inverts. The pile, drawn down carefully, pays you more each year than your labor ever did. Your money goes to work in the morning so you do not have to. You built the one thing the punch clock could never give you. The one thing it was, in fact, designed to keep from you. A stream of money that is not made of your hours. You expect this to feel like winning. It does not feel like winning. It feels like quiet. You find the old paper calendar one afternoon, in a box, the cheap free one from the office, the one you cross the days off. The little X marks march across the months in your own younger handwriting. Days you struck out like they were the enemy. Days of your one life you could not wait to be rid of, so the weekend would come. You sit on the floor with it, and you understand what you were actually counting down all those years. It was not the weekend. You were crossing off the hours the clock owned, waiting for the day the clock would finally be yours. This is that day, and the days are no longer something to cross off. They are, at last, the thing itself. You think about Dell, still on the dock somewhere, the best worker in any building, $58,000 a year forever. You did not work harder than Dell. You never worked harder than you did at $7.25 an hour. You only, somewhere along the way, stopped selling your hours. You started owning a clock instead of being owned by one. You think about the punch clock in the break room, the gray plastic slot, the faded purple ink, the card it ate and handed back, the rate carved into it that you did not set. You set the rate now. You stand up. There is no clock to punch. There is no card to feed the slot. There is a Tuesday. It is March, and it belongs to you. The whole long road only ever measured one thing, the distance between renting your hours and owning them. Somewhere right now, someone is clocking in for the first time. They stand under a humming light in a break room off a county road. They hold a stub that says $7.25 an hour. They think the answer is more hours. They think if they just take the extra shift, the number gets big enough to save them. They do not know yet what it costs. They will learn. They always do. The clock does not stop. It just finds the next one. They feed it the card. It eats the time. It hands the card back. The clock was never the enemy. The enemy was only ever the question of whose hand was on it.